inhospitable, we know this is untrue. Life found a way to not just survive, but thrive, utilizing and adapting to the pressures and features found in their home. In this video, I will show you how I think one of the Nether's most iconic life forms function, the Ghast, a floating, fireball-shooting, aggressive omnivore. Twice as wide as the average Minecraftian, and more than twice as tall. Firstly, let's start off with what every species needs to continue: reproduction. One way ghasts might reproduce is through spores. We know there are sufficient air currents to move around visible particles. Some of these might be baby ghasts. Ghasts reproducing through spores could also make sense from an efficiency standpoint, seeing as reproduction requires extra nutrients compared to the baseline necessary to survive. Add the fact that ghasts are big animals and would therefore require more food in total. Ultimately, creating a single spore is far easier and less nutrient intensive than becoming pregnant and raising young inside of you. Since spores still need to eat, ghasts probably produce them near crimson/warped forests, where their young can consume the spores of other life forms, eventually growing bigger and bigger until fully maturing as an adult, assuming that ghasts can choose when to release spores. Currently reproducing or not, all animals need to eat, and one way a ghast might gather sustenance would be through hunting down prey. Not only does meat pack more energy per bite than plant matter, ghasts even have the advantage of range. In an earlier video, I claimed that ghasts would use range attacks as a form of self-defense, blasting piglins who would shoot them down using arrows. However, I now believe the ghasts primarily use fireballs to hunt down targets. Using these surprisingly fast projectiles, they can take down potentially dangerous prey without being endangered themselves. Furthermore, if the prey tries to hide or run, the explosion would inconvenience them greatly by blasting away cover and creating pitfalls. Provided the prey is killed, the ghast would then hover over the cooked remains and pick them up using their long tentacles before shoving them into the mouth. However, ghasts also eat other things besides meat. The netherrack clearly has enough nutrients for life to spring from it, so any blown up chunks of the dimension are also consumed. Another thing ghasts eat would be the large fungus trees, since they probably provide less fuel per pound than flesh, and the fact that fungus trees also take less energy to procure nutrients from. Ghasts probably wouldn't bother using such an energy-intensive process like creating and launching an explosive. Instead, simply hovering over a particular tree and pulling its foliage off would suffice. Now let's look at locomotion. Ghasts, despite their large size and non-aerodynamic appearance, can nonetheless hover and even pursue their targets. Simply getting off the ground is easy enough. Using methane sacs in their body, the ghasts can float. Furthermore, these beings are roughly bell-shaped, allowing them to catch the hot updrafts created by the magma below. However, moving around is a bit more tricky. Ghasts can also move quickly for extended periods of time, something that would be difficult to achieve through simply waving their tentacles around. In order for them to do this, I suppose they have a way to release stored air. This air is different from the flotation gases, and is used similarly to letting air out of a balloon. However, ghasts can also sink. To do so, they release air that creates thrust, which pushes them down, stopping this force when they wish to float back up. But we can't forget about the ghast's fireballs. This powerful attack is one incredibly memorable feature of this creature. Since the ghasts can drop gunpowder when they die, we can assume that the projectiles contains this explosive substance. Other ingredients might include the feces of the ghast, some methane, and even blood. It's entirely possible that these fireballs also serve as the ghast's main source of waste disposal. Focusing on the projectiles, they are alight with fire. We know ghasts can survive incredible temperatures, so having a cinder-laden orb inside of them shouldn't be an issue. When launching this attack, what seems like the ghast's mouth and eyes open up, but the lower orifice is designed specifically to launch the projectile. The real mouth is located on the bottom of the ghast, while the quote-unquote eyes are actually vents which let out pressure generated by the firing mechanism. Earlier I mentioned the ghast's extreme heat resistance. Ultimately, this feels the most difficult to explain in detail. It's possible that ghasts are built from something more heat resistant than carbon, or they might have some sort of magical resistance to fire. And while both are possible, another way ghasts might dispose of excess heat is by simply flying higher. Much like a lizard taking a bath to cool off, ghasts will try to find cooler environments in order to prevent overheating. Due to both the stable temperature gradients in the nether and its high temperature, ghasts are probably cold-blooded. After all, it would be dangerous to generate heat in such a hot environment. Furthermore, automatically maintaining a set body temperature takes energy, something that an animal wouldn't want to waste. Now you may be wondering how a ghast sees if those aren't their eyes. One potential answer is they don't. Instead, they use smell receptors located at the bottom of their body to pick up scent particles. This is another advantage floating provides. By being higher than potential prey, ghasts can rely on the swift updraft generated by heat sources to blow smells their way. Lastly, let's take a look at ghast tiers. At this point, I should remind you that due to lack of information, how I think ghasts could function might be completely accurate or utterly false. I feel this is doubly true with this esoteric quote-unquote fluid. Now, despite their name, I don't think these are actual tiers, since they are able to hold a solid shape. Instead, I believe they are the ghast equivalent of kidney stones. Quartz is a naturally generating part of the nether. They also share a similar color with ghast tiers. It's possible pieces of quartz get strewn throughout the netherrack. Eventually, these particles accumulate into said objects. Now, this video has a lot of speculation due to the fantastical nature of ghasts, having attributes that seemingly break the rules of physics. As a result, I would like to hear how you think ghasts could function.